Our guests are two men from California who have been at the ramparts of this debate. And here they are. Of course, the names are in there, Rob Reiner and Governor Newsom. Thank you very much. Gavin, thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks, it seems to me like the observers today, the court said the court didn't seem to be in a mood so far, and at least in the arguments, prepared to give a sweeping ruling on gay marriage that would affect all 50 states. Far likelier, the experts say, based on what the justice said today, would be a narrow outcome focused just on the state of California. That's according to NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams, the expert in this field. The likeliest result, he said, would be one striking down Proposition 8 out there, the 2008 ballot initiative in California that banned same-sex marriage. And that would mean allowing marriages to resume in California without setting any legal precedent for the other 49 states and D.C. Well, one of the justices being watched closely today is Chief Justice John Roberts. He showed he had sympathy for gay marriage critics in California. For the critics this time. Listen.
So it's just about the label in this case.
The label is like
same-sex couples have every other right. It's just about the label.
The label marriage means something. Even our opponents.
Sure. If you tell a child that somebody has to be their friend, I suppose you can force the child to say this is my friend, but it changes the definition of what it means to be a friend. And that's, it seems to me, what the supporters of Proposition 8 are saying here. All you're interested in is the label, and you insist on changing the definition of the label.
Wow, Gavin Newsom.
I didn't get that fully. I mean, I just was thinking back, 5 years ago when I fell in love and with my wife now, Jen, if I sat on my knee and I said, honey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, will you civil union me? Yeah. I'd be here with a scar. Yeah. And the point being, that label means a tremendous amount. That symbol, that marriage is what it's about. You can't have something else and call it equal. I mean, that's the whole argument against civil unions. They are something else. And so with respect to Chief Justice, I just don't think he gets that.
Well, that argument was made by our cardinal here to us, a small group of journalists that is married. But the word gay, for example, went from Fred Astaire, gay, to having a good time, and to meaning homosexual. Words change their meanings.
Yes, and to say that it has no meaning is really crazy, because it's like saying you have all the rights of a citizen, you just can't be called a citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big difference. You can vote, but you're not a citizen of this country. Yeah. To say that to a group of people, that you do not have the same rights and the same privileges and the same equality under the law is just wrong.
Exactly. When did you, I always figured you to be sort of a classic Democrat, unhyphenated, regular Democrat politically. You're not a lefty. I never thought of you as, although we were both with Dean, I think. Anyway, he didn't seem like a lefty. He's just anti-stupid war. But when did you get into this emotionally?
Well, I got into this emotionally when Proposition 8 passed, because my good friend Chad Griffin, who is the president now of the Human Rights Campaign, is a very, very close friend of mine. I love Chad Griffin. I've worked with him. He is like a son to me. He was 19 years old when I first met him. He was assigned to me as to show me around the White House when I was making American President, and he ran my foundation for years. We became very, very close, and he is like a son to me. To look him in the eye, and he came to me and said, we've got to do something now. And when I look at him in the eye, I can't look and say, you are than me, you deserve less than I do. It's like what Rob Portman said. He finds out his son is gay. How do you look your son in the eye and say, you don't deserve the same rights that I have? And that's when I became involved.
But Rob, you're short.
And you became governor. You became involved as mayor of San Francisco,
and
when you basically legitimized the marriages.
We had 4,036 couples from 46 states and 8 countries that came into San Francisco and got married. And Rob was one of the first people calling in 2004 celebrating that. So he's been at it for even longer.
Well, yes, I was talking about on this particular case. Yes, no, I've been involved.
Let's talk about this judge we're all fascinated with, and I've always liked Anthony Kennedy because he is, in many ways, a libertarian and a believer in civil liberties. He was the swing justice and always will be, I suppose. He certainly seemed to swing today, giving sympathetic statements to both sides of the argument. At one point today, he talked about the immediate legal injury being done to children of gay parents if they lose their parents as parents. Let's listen.
There's substantial, there's substance to the point that this sociological information is new. We have 5 years of information to weigh against 2,000 years of history or more. On the other hand, there is an immediate legal injury or legal, what could be a legal injury, and that's the voice of these children. There's some 40,000 children in California, according to the Red Brief, that live with same-sex parents. And they want their parents to have full recognition and full status. The voice of those children is important in this case, don't you think?
Well, maybe he thinks that's the important thing. He's the judge. Anyway, Kennedy also warned that the case was entering uncharted waters. Of course it is, and questioned whether the case should have even reached the Supreme Court. Maybe it's too fertile ground or too early ground for him, but let's listen to this final.
The problem with the case is that you're really asking, particularly because of the sociological evidence you cite, for us to go into uncharted waters, and you can play with that metaphor. There's a wonderful destination, or there's a cliff, whatever the metaphor is. But you're doing so in a case where the opinion is very narrow. Basically, that once the state goes halfway, it has to go all the way, or 70% of the way. And you're doing so in a case where there's a substantial question on standing. I just wonder if the case was properly granted.
Here's to